Biography of John Lewis. We're thinking about how and why does this biography connect to the novel that we're reading. While you're listening along, you will read and annotate with this on your copy. This was counted as a homework grade, so don't lose it and be ready to turn it into class. In 1963, Lewis became chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. That same year, as one of the big six leaders of the civil rights movement, he helped plan the March on Washington. Lewis, the youngest speaker at the event, had to alter a speech in order to please other organizers, but still delivered a powerful oration that declared, "We all recognize the fact that if any radical societal, political, and economic changes are to take place in our society, the people, the masses, must bring them about." After the march on Washington in 1964, the Civil Rights Act became law. However, this did not make it easier for African Americans to vote in the South. To bring attention to this struggle, Lewis and Hosa Williams led a march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama on March 7th, 1965. After crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the marchers were attacked by state troopers. Lewis was severely beaten once more, this time suffering a fractured skull. The violent attacks were recorded and disseminated throughout the country, and the images proved too powerful to ignore. "Quote unquote Bloody Sunday," as the day was labeled, sped up the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Page 2. U.S. Congressman. Lewis left the SNCC in 1966, though devastated by the assassinations of King and Robert Kennedy in 1968. Lewis continued his work to enfranchise minorities. In 1970, he became the director of the Voter Education Project. During his tenure, the VEP helped to register millions of minority voters. Lewis ran for office himself in 1981, winning a seat in the Atlanta City Council. In 1986, he was elected to the House of Representatives, representing Georgia's 5th District. He was one of the most respected members of Congress. Since entering office, he has called for health care reform, measures to fight poverty, and improvements in education. Most importantly, he oversaw multiple renewals of the Voting Rights Act. When the Supreme Court struck down the law in 2013's Shelby County versus Holder, Lewis decried the decision as a dagger into the heart of voting rights. In the wake of the mass shooting that took place on June 12, 2016 in Orlando, Florida, Lewis led a sit-in comprised of approximately 40 House Democrats on the floor of the House of Representatives on June 22nd in an attempt to bring attention and force Congress to address gun violence by taking definitive legislative action. "We have been too quiet for too long," Lewis said. "There comes a time when you have to say something. You have to make a little noise. You have to move your feet. This is the time." The project came just days after several measures, including a bill regarding background checks and adding restrictions on the purchase of guns by people on the federal no-fly list, failed in the Senate. Senator Chris Murphy applauded the protest. Murphy had previously led a filibuster in the Senate, which led to the subsequent vote, clashing with Donald Trump. Page 3. Lewis also spoke out against the presidency of Donald Trump, who was elected on November 8, 2016. In an interview with Chuck Todd on NBC News' Meet the Press, which aired on January 15, 2017, Lewis said he didn't believe Trump was a, quote, legitimate president, end quote, because of Russian interference in the election. Quote, "I think the Russians participated in helping get this man elected, and they helped to destroy the candidacy of Hillary Clinton," end quote, Lewis said in the interview. He also said he would not attend Trump's inauguration. Trump responded on Twitter criticizing Lewis's work as a congressman and tweeting that Lewis was all talk, 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 no action or results. Sad. The president elect's attack on Lewis came just days before the Martin Luther King holiday and prompted vocal support of the civil rights icon across social media. Several Democratic lawmakers also joined in support of Lewis and boycotted Trump's inauguration. Next page. Trump continued his war of words, tweeting, John Lewis said about my inauguration, quote, it will be the first one that I've missed, end quote, wrong or lie. He boycotted Bush 43, also because he thought it would be hypocritical to attend Bush's swearing in. He doesn't believe Bush is a true elected president. Sound familiar? A spokeswoman for Lewis confirmed that he had missed the inauguration of George W. Bush. Quote, his absence at the time was a form of dissent. He did not believe the outcome of the election, including the controversies around the results in Florida and the unprecedented intervention of the U.S. Supreme Court reflected a free, fair, and open democratic process. That picture is from the March on Selma. Next page. Cancer diagnosis and death. In December 2019, Lewis announced that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Although he was clear-eyed about the prognosis, Lewis said that he felt encouraged that medical advancements had made this type of cancer treatable in many cases, and added that he intended to return to work as soon as possible. Lewis passed away on July 17, 2020. Legacy. Though the Supreme Court's decision about the Voting Rights Act was a blow to Lewis, he had been encouraged by the progress that has occurred in his lifetime. Last page. After Barack Obama won the presidency in 2008, Lewis stated that, quote, when we are organizing voter registration drives, going on freedom rides, sitting in, coming here to Washington for the first time, getting arrested, going to jail, being beaten, I never dreamed of the possibility that an African American would one day be elected president of the United States, end quote. In addition to his work in Congress, Lewis reached a younger generation by helping to create a series of graphic novels about his work in the civil rights movement. In 2016, he won the National Book Award for the third installment of the series March, Book 3, which marks the first time a graphic novel has ever received the honor. He accepted the award with co-writer Andrew Iden and illustrator Nate Powell and spoke of its significance in an emotional acceptance speech. Quote, some of you know I grew up in rural Alabama, very poor, very few books in our home, end quote, Lewis said. Quote, I remember in 1956 when I was 16 years old going to the public library to get a library card, and we were told the library was for whites only and not for the coloreds. And to come here and receive this honor, it's too much, end quote. He also spoke about the importance of books in his life. Quote, I had a wonderful teacher in elementary school who told me, read, my child, read. And I tried to read everything, he said. I love books. The civil rights icon also has been honored with numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the NAACP's Spring Arm Medal, and the sole John F. Kennedy Profile of Courage Award for Lifetime Achievement. Quick facts. His name was John Robert Lewis, born 1940. His birthday was February 21st, 1940. He was born in Alabama. In the United States, he was known as a male, best known for one of the big six leaders of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. John Lewis continued to fight for people's rights since joining Congress in 1987. His industries was U.S. politics, civil rights, and he was a Pisces.